Microphone's on. Greetings, Facebook. Okay, so I hope that you are all well and you're having a really good morning, evening, wherever you are on the planet. Let me turn the music off. And then I need to get my notes up. So greetings, everybody that's joined. My name is June Allen from juneallen.net, and I teach Black women how to heal from the impact of racism with racial sobriety and revolutionary self-love. So happy Thursday. So I wanted to jump on today to talk about tomorrow. My self-love rehab course launches. And I just thought I haven't actually really come on and actually talked about what it's about. I've kind of mentioned it and stuff and just given people little snippets and stuff during my previous live streams, but I've not actually got on and actually said, actually, this is what self-love rehab is about. This is what you're going to get. This is how it's going to work and all of that kind of stuff. Just give it to you straight so then you can make a decision about whether you think it's going to be good for you or not. So that's what I'm about to talk about today. So, as I said, Self-Love Rehab, it opens tomorrow. The doors open tomorrow. It's going to be open for the next, for the next couple of days, obviously, to let people get in and get comfortable and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to give you a bit more of a breakdown as to what it's for and how it can support you. So, one of the most common questions that I get from people is, I don't know where to start. I like what you're saying, June. I really like what you're doing. But I just don't know where to start with all this healing stuff. I have not got a clue what is going on. Now, the reason that I kind of set up this platform in the first place is because I've been in, and what hence the name Self-Love Rehab, is that I've been in recovery from addiction to self-hate, codependency, dysfunctional relationships, all that kind of stuff for 9 years. I went into recovery in 2009. I got my sponsor in 2010. Had an amazing journey, but there was no cultural context. And so, actually the door's just gone. Just give me 1 second. I'll come back in a minute. Just 1 minute. Apologies for that. Running off in the middle of a live stream. Anyway, I had to go and do that. Anyway, so I've been in recovery since 2009. Had a really great time, but there was no cultural context. There was absolutely no cultural context, and so as a result of what I learned in recovery, what I learned through reading books, what I learned from having lots of therapy and all that kind of stuff, I began to understand what the cultural context was about and how the impact of racism or living under the system of racism was impacting how I felt about myself, was impacting my self-esteem, all of that kind of stuff. And I was able to translate all of the stuff that I'd learned over the years into a system, into a platform that actually was really good to helping me build my self-esteem back up, to help to sort of rebuild my identity and set boundaries and really understanding what my needs are, redefining my values, all of that stuff that actually helps to rebuild my identity. And so I started sharing it with a lot of other black people and stuff in recovery, and not just black people, other people of colour as well. There's loads of people that have kind of benefited from the stuff that I've talked about. But it was so powerful. It was really powerful because people started contacting me directly a lot more about this stuff because they knew that I had an understanding of it. And I just started, I got so many, I benefited from it so much, and I got so many, so much great feedback from other people. Hi Mo, thanks for joining. So I thought, you know what, I need to share about this stuff publicly. So I started sharing about it a lot more publicly. And then hence this movement kind of has grown out of it because I absolutely love what I do. And I thought I just started sharing about it a lot more publicly so more people could understand it. And so here I am. But like I was saying before, the whole thing around people not really understanding where to start, not just kind of like, oh, just get on with it or whatever, but just like having a step-by-step process about what to do, how to actually, what should they actually do? Okay, you got off this broadcast, but now what? So I wanted to put this course together, this 12-week course, 6 modules, to just really walk people through step by step. And it doesn't matter whether you're new to this healing process or whether you're in recovery, you've already started your journey, but you just need to reset things from a perspective of, the cultural context. This course is basically about that. It's helping you put the things in place. And it is really, I go right back to basics, because sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you can get complacent doing this work and think, oh, it's all right, I don't need to do that. And even I can get like that sometimes. I can get complacent, like, oh, I don't need to do. But then it's only when I go into a meeting or I do some outreach with someone or something like that, or I talk to my therapist, that I actually realise, oh my God, like I really just need to go back to basics. So this course is really going to help you to do that. So, my things just dropped down. So yeah, I'm going to walk you through some of the stuff that I'm going to go through during the course, so you can get an understanding as to what's actually going to be happening inside of it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to basically build your empowerment plan. Now, what I mean by that is you've got to basically have the foundational tools in order to do it. So that means some little tools and stuff that you need to buy in order to like things like a journal. You need a journal, you need a pen, and you need a nice journal and pen, not just any old thing you just dug out the cupboard. Something that's really intentional about what you're going to be using to do your heart work. And I call homework heart work, because it is heart work. So telling people they need to go and buy a pen and and a journal, a nice one. And then we're going to go through a process of helping you to set up like weekly and daily wellness tools. You've got to have there's a process that I'm going to get you to put in place, so that every day you're going to have either some journaling to do, and there's a 3-step process that I have that I share with people to kind of take them through how to deal with their emotion, how to deal with their wellness, how to kind of check in with themselves. One of the important things to remember about doing this work is that living under the system of racism means that racial pain or racial stress is cyclical. It happens on a daily basis, because whether you're watching TV or you're out in the tube or whatever it is, or even when you're around family members, the internalized racism is still going to be there as well. That means it's cyclical. It happens all the time. So if you're being exposed under the system of racism all the time, even education, whatever it is, if you're being exposed to racism on a daily basis, there needs to be a system in place, a wellness system in place, for you to be able to manage the emotions that come up as a result of the microaggressions or whatever it is that you're feeling on a daily basis. So what I do as part of the empowerment plan is teach you how to set that up. What you need to do, different tools and stuff that you're going to use to manage the stress, how to soothe yourself, how to take care of yourself, how to nurture yourself. I'm basically teaching you how to self-parent, but I'm not just throwing it out there. Oh, you need self-parent. I'm actually giving you the step-by-step things that you need to do. There's stuff that the checklist and stuff that you'll need to print off to make sure you've got all the different things. And also, there'll be tools that you can pick from to try to put in your toolbox, in your empowerment plan, so that you can try different things. If you've never done any of this work before, you need to have a set of tools from a cultural perspective, as well as emotional, physical, spiritual, all that kind of stuff. You need the cultural tools as well to show you how to nurture your own Black identity. You need this stuff. So I've basically I've drawn up all of this stuff, and then you get the opportunity to work through it and to discover what are the things that are really going to work for you. One of the other things that's really, really important for you to setting up your weekly and daily ritual tools is to explore your relationship with time. Your relationship with time is everything. And I know people say it, there's only 24 hours in a day, whatever. But there's this, I'm going to get honest now. Let's get honest about this whole thing around black time. This whole thing around black time and black people being late is self-sabotage. It's self-sabotage. And if we don't manage our time properly, if we're not managing our time properly, then how are we going to expect to be intentional about our wellness process, about our wellness schedule, about prioritizing our healing process if we don't have boundaries around our time? And in the first module, I go into this whole thing around your relationship with time in a lot more detail. And again, there's journals and questions and things like that for you to talk about, to explore why you have a dysfunctional relationship with time, and helping you to to realign that, to explore it, and to where did it come from and how to realign that so that you can begin to put yourself first. But exploring your relationship with time, you need to explore your relationship with time if you're going to think about creating a structure. It's impossible to do it without it. So exploring your relationship with time is really, really important. The other thing that's also really important is to explore not just tools for time out and stuff like that, but tools for time in. Tools for time in. I call them time in tools. What do they look like? Again, I give loads of suggestions about how you can have time in and not just time out. There's a very, very, there's a huge difference between time out and time in. And I talk about that as well in the course, and just really giving you an opportunity just to explore what it means to have your sacred sister time. That's basically what it is. The wellness rituals and the wellness schedule and all of that kind of stuff is all about how to basically get the best out of your sacred sister time, and using it in a way that's really going to nurture you and either set you up for the day or help you complete the day. And I talk about all of that. Again, I show you how to set all of that stuff up. The next module, which I'm super, super excited about, is a 90-day self-love goal setting system. Now, I've been working on this myself, and it's a game changer. It's a game changer because not only are you accountable, it just means that your self-care process really has to be at the forefront of what's going on. And if you miss it and you start to see all the little things that, maybe you haven't done it that day, that doesn't mean to say you're going to beat yourself up, but it's just a really great way of holding yourself accountable. And everybody sets goals for everything else. People set goals if they're saving money for a house or a holiday or whatever it is, or how much shopping you're going to spend on food this month or whatever. But people don't always set wellness goals, and I think people don't really understand maybe how to make them measurable. They don't know how to make themselves measurable, and also it's not as important. People don't prioritize that stuff, and then they wonder why so many of us are not well and that we're so exhausted, that we're burnt out. The reason that we say burnt out is because we don't have a process in place and we're not prioritizing it. We're just going from one day to the next. We're drifting through the day, or we're getting dragged through the day, depending on which tasks or topics or people are screaming the loudest. And we don't have any boundaries. So that means that, our well-being just gets put last. And this self-love rehab is about learning how to put yourself first. It's about how to practice self-compassion. It's about how to say no to other people and saying yes to yourself. That has to be paramount. That has to be at the forefront. If you want to live in a space of wellness and in a space of wholeness, you've got to learn how to put yourself first. People talk about, you have to love yourself all the time. But how do you do that? How many of you actually know how to do that, or what does it mean? I saw in a Facebook group the other day, a woman was like, I'm doing all this self-care stuff, but I still feel bad. I still feel bad. I don't understand why I'm still feeling bad. And it's because she doesn't really understand what her needs are. She hasn't really gone through it. She's just basically doing all this stuff that people have thrown out there, be it, I'm going to go and have a massage or whatever. But she hasn't gone through the process of really identifying what her values are or what her needs are. And that's that is all part of the process again of what's going to be done in this course, because if you can't build your self-esteem if you've got no foundation. A lot of us have got values that belong to other people, that belong to our parents, that may be part of the system of white supremacy, or there might be community values or whatever, but we don't really know what our own values are personally, because a lot of us just accept what was passed down to us and we think, that's the right way to do it. It might not be the right way for you. It may not be the right way for you. So one of the things that it's really, really important that I really stress for people to complete as part of this course is that they have to go through the process of understanding what their values are and then understanding what their needs are. That stuff is really, really important. When you start to understand all of these things, it's much easier for you to like set the goals, because then you've got an understanding as to what your needs are, what your values are, all of that kind of stuff, and you begin to start to understand yourself a little bit more. And the 90-day goal setting thing is not something that you kind of do once and that's it. It's something that, it's a living document. It's a living document that you can add, take away as you grow and you change and you start to stand in who you are as a person. Then you develop that goal setting thing, and you kind of reset the whole thing every 90 days, because then, you know, you've achieved the things that you wanted to do in the 90 days, and then the next one you go on and you choose a new set of goals that are going to be for your well-being, and it can be physical, spiritual, cultural, whatever it is. But I take you through the process of that, focusing primarily on your cultural stuff, because that for a lot of us is where our self-esteem is lacking, because we don't understand how to nourish ourselves culturally. We don't understand what it means. We don't understand how to do it. We don't understand what, you know, we don't have a list of what the actual tools are, you know. And also the reason why we don't understand how to nurture ourselves culturally is because we don't understand the psychology of racism. We don't understand the psychology of self-hate. We don't understand the psychology of self-esteem. These are all things that I'm going to be I'm so excited. I'm so excited about doing it. I've been reading so many books. You can see my floor is just covered in books, because I'm so immersed in doing all of this, because I know that it's going to benefit, you know, it's going to benefit those of you that are really struggling with where to start and what to do and all the rest of it. And I really, really want you to, to have some freedom around this. I want you to be able to understand, not just, you know, there's a lot of people that are beginning to understand racism from an external perspective, but a lot of us don't understand how racism has impacted us internally. We don't understand how it's impacted our families. We don't understand how it's impacted our love relationships. We just think, oh, white people are doing this and white people are doing that. But you're not really having that conversation with how does it actually impact you as a person. And there's another session. Hi, thanks for joining. There's a specific module in the course where it actually, you know, I go through and I break down how all the different types of behavior that are associated with, you know, self-betrayal, how we betray ourselves because of internalized racism, and how that actually bleeds into your relationships, how it bleeds into the relationship with yourself, how it bleeds into the work, how you show up in your workplace. It forces you to look at this stuff from an honest perspective. And not only are you going to be doing this work to explore yourself, you know, there are also what I call soul sessions, where, you know, people will come together and we'll share on, you know, how you're doing with what the particular module or whichever thing you're working on at that particular time. And that is really going to give you a sense of community. It's going to give you a sense of identification, because quite often people will share things that they identify with each other. And that in of itself is what healing's about. It's the mirroring. It's the identification. It's the knowing that you're not by yourself. You know, I've heard so many times from people that I've worked with that, oh, I thought that I was the only one that felt like that. No, you're not. You're not the only person that feels like that. But sometimes we feel ashamed of how we feel, or we think that we're being too emotional, or we don't really understand our feelings, or whatever it is, we don't want to, we feel ashamed to talk about it, or we don't know where to go to talk about it. This is why this space, this 12-week course, Self-Love Rehab, is so important, because you get that space, whether it's on a weekly or a fortnightly basis, depending on what masterclasses or whatever is happening that week, you will have a space to be able to have a conversation about what's going on. It's all going to be confidential and stuff as well. So, you know, there's going to be boundaries and stuff where people can't, you know, are not supposed to chat your business and all the rest. Whatever is said in that space is kept in that space. So the modules and stuff and the masterclasses are recorded, so that if you don't actually if you can't actually attend the class live, then you can do that. Sorry, you don't have to attend live if you don't want to. You can just watch the replay. Other than that, you know, the actual soul sessions themselves, they have to be confidential. But that's a space for you to be able to process it. That's a space for you to be able to process it. But that whole process of really understanding your behavior and understanding how it shows up is a game changer. It really is. Because if you're not aware, if you're not self-aware, you know, the whole thing around teaching emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, racial awareness, all that kind of stuff, helping you understand your feelings and needs and all of that. If you don't understand all of that, how are you going to change it? How are you going to change your behavior and your relationships if you don't understand how those things play out for your, in your own life? That's what this is about. It's not about talking about what other people are doing. You will explore that in terms of reference, but we're not really going to be, the conversation is not really about what the other person did to you. Self-love rehab is about self-reflection. It's about self-reflection. It's about understanding the impact of racism, the impact of certain relationships, the impact of slavery, intergenerational trauma. It's not about focusing on what happened then. It's about focusing on what the impact that's having on you in the now. That's what self-love rehab is about. And obviously, because I've been in recovery for a long time, there's going to be elements that I've taken from those spaces and translated them into a space where you can understand that. What's that Mo saying? Racism feeds off loneliness and isolation. The power is to share. 100%, Mo. 100%. That is one of the reasons why having a safe space to share, it has to be non-negotiable. It's got to be non-negotiable, because racism also feeds off shame. Shame, isolation and loneliness, they all kind of like enmesh together. And, the more you feel lonely, the more you feel ashamed, the more you feel isolated, the more you feel ashamed, the more shame you feel, the more and, it sort of meshes together in one sort of thing, and it just gets more and more difficult to come out of it. So it's about understanding that, the shame and the isolation and the loneliness, all of that kind of stuff has to be, without a doubt, a part of that conversation. And this is the reason why, I didn't want this course to be something that I would just set up and let people kind of join and get on with it. I don't want people to just join and get on with it. And me not have the meetings and all of that kind of stuff as part of the conversation, because isolation is already such a huge part of internalized racism, of self-hate, it's, of shame. It's already a huge part of that conversation. So it's important for me to create a space where people can come and talk and share and listen to others and learn about their own behavior, learn about their own sadness, and also in hearing other people and having other people kind of share their own stories, you start to build trust, you start to build compassion, you experience a lot of self-compassion and empathy. One of the most powerful things that I witness in the space where I do the book club is when other people share and the other ladies listen. Sometimes they'll identify, and I've seen ladies weep in those sessions because they've just not been heard before. It's the first time they've actually been in a space where they've not felt judged. They've not felt judged for feeling the way that they feel. They've not felt silenced by what they're saying, and that there's a genuine love, compassion and empathy for what they've experienced. And I think that as living under the system of racism is something that a lot of us have forgotten how to do that, because we're so disconnected from who we are. We're so numb from not wanting to actually experience or feel our own pain that we don't know how to have empathy and compassion. And self-love rehab is about bringing that back and showing you how to reignite all of that stuff so that we can begin to build our sense of wholeness from the inside out. It's also about understanding what our triggers are, what our feelings are, and what our needs are, and how to build that supportive village, not just the village that I'm building as part of the course, but how to build your own personal village, how to build a family of choice. These are all conversations that are part of this course. So if you are interested in joining Self-Love Rehab, the door's open tomorrow. It's going to be open for a few days afterwards, but if you're interested in joining Self-Love Rehab, go to heal.juneallen.net. Click the link in the bio. It's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. So that is it for today. I just really wanted to jump on really quickly and share what Self-Love Rehab is about. And if you're interested and you really want to really start to learn about how to love yourself, if maybe you've already started your journey, you need a reset, maybe you're in recovery and you don't have a platform to be able to talk about the link between, you know, your racial pain and your addiction, your addictive acting out. You know, this also is a great space for you to start to learn about racial sobriety. 'Cause I'm going to be talking about so many different things, racism and internalized racism, and how, you know, our behaviors are basically the result of, you know, our unexpressed hurt, whether it's external stuff around racism or whether it's internalized racism, how you treat yourself, or internalized in terms of the racism that's been recycled inside your family. So if those are the sorts of things that you really want to get started on doing those things, then click the link in the bio, go to heal.juneallen.net, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. If you know somebody who you think may need self-love rehab and might be interested in this course, share it with them, tag them, let them know. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with me. Thanks, Mo, for joining. It's really good to see you as always. And I will see you I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to be on here again tomorrow, and I'll see you then. All right, take care. Bye.